Yo, what's up, fam? What's up? What's up? What's up? This is the part two of Atlantis, ancient luneria and Mu, and this about to be some heavy. It's just a short PowerPoint, but I ain't finished with it yet. So we're gonna get right into the information. So this the book right here. There's some maps right there that they wrote back in the 1890s and 1900s and 20s that they knew about this. This the book right here, Augustus Lee Pion MD, the Queen Mu and the Egyptian Sphinx, Augustus Lee Pion. And the book was published in 1896. This the man right there. And he states ancient civilized nations of Asia, Africa, and Europe, of which we have any knowledge, that has become evident to my mind at least, that such similarities are not merely effects of hazard, but the results of inimited communications that must have existed between all of them, and that distance was no greater obstacle to their intercourse than it is today. Today, as inhabitants of various countries, it has been, and still is, a favorite hypothesis with certain students of ethnology that the western continent known as America receives this human population. Therefore, its civilization from Asia. True, there is a split in their ranks, that they are not quite certain the immigration to America came from the territories across the Strait of Bering of the Hindustan over the waste of the Pacific Ocean. This, however, is a little consequence that there are so who pretended like Kalaproth and that the cradle of humanity is to be found in the plateau of Pamir between the high peaks of the Himalayan ranges, or like Mercers. Renethia Saint Hari, who placed in the region of the Tamisius in the countries where the Bible says that the Garden of Eden was situated, while others are quietly certain man came from Lumeria. Oh, we're gonna see what type of man that is. We're gonna talk about that. That submerged continent invented by P.L. Sackler, which Heckler believes was the birthplace of the primitive ape man. That's bull. Which, as they say, now lies under the waves of the Indian Ocean. Now, I proved that in the earlier video, part one. The truth is of the matter that these opinions are mere conjectures, simple hypotheses, and that their advocates no more when where they first appeared on earth, that their newborn babe knows of his surroundings or home he came. How he came. Let's see, we're gonna skip a little bit. We're gonna skip the Mayan sages. This is in this book. This is in this book. I just want to skip a little bit because I don't want to hold y'all too long. The Mayan sages doubtless had reached similar conclusions since they were called the country of Mayak. This is the land of the first emerged from the bosom of the deep, the country of the shoot, and the Egyptians, according to Herodotus, boasted that their ancestors in the lands of the West were the oldest men on earth. In the opinion of Lyle Humphrey and a host of modern geologists regarding the priority of America's antiquity to be correct, what right have the gain to see the assertion of the Mayans of the Egyptians in claiming likewise priority of their people in their country? It is natural but intelligence in man that developed the oldest continent of the most ancient inhabitants, and that the continent of the civilization grew apiece with its development. When the impulse of the instinct of self-preservation, men likened themselves into clans, tribes, and nations. History was born with a desire to commemorate the events of which is composed. The art of drawing or writing was then invented. The incidents regarded as most worthy being remembered and preserved for the knowledge coming to generations, carved on the most enduring material in their possession, stone. And it's so that is that we find today a cosmogonic and religious notions, the records of natural phenomena predominant intendeds in the history of their nation and their rulers, sculpted on the walls of the temples and the palaces of civilized the civilized Maya, the Chaldeans, and Egyptians, and on the sacred rocks and the hollow caves for primitive uncivilized men. Let's see. Okay, here we go. It is the monument inscriptions into the books of the minds that we must turn if we wish to learn about the primordial traditions of mankind, the development of civilization, and the events that took place centuries before the dim mist recorded as occurrences and at the beginning of our written history. Historians, when writing the universal history of the race, have never taken into consideration that of man in America and the role of the remote ages of American nations played on the world stage and the influence they extended the population of Asia, Africa, and Europe still as far as we can scan the long visitor of the past centuries. The Mayas seem to have had direct and imminent communications with them. So that's telling me that melanated people always traveled everywhere. We traveled everywhere. That Europe, like I said before, was a melanated queen come from Nubia, was named Europa. That she ran all from Nubia down to the parts of Europe that melanated people ruled there in the pre-dynastic period and plus the Paleolithic period as well. We can get into that another time. This is the fact, indeed, no new revelation as proved by the University of the name Maya, which seems to have been as well known by the civilized nations thousands of years ago today of the English. Thus, we meet within the Japan, the islands of the Pacific, Hindustan, Asia Minor, Egypt, Greece, equilateral Africa, North and South America, as well as the countries known to us as the Central America, which is in those times composed the Maya Empire. The seat of the government of the residence of the rulers was the peninsula of the Yucatan. Whenever found, the name Maya is synonymous with power, wisdom, and learning. I'm going to read that again. Maya is synonymous with power, wisdom, and learning. The existence of the Western continent was no more a mystery to the inhabitants of the countries bordering the Mediterranean than those whose shores are bathed with waves of the Indian Ocean. Ramagi has let me see. Ramagi, in his beautiful epic of the Ramayana, says that in times remote that the sun had not yet risen above the horizon, the Mayans, great navigators, terrible warriors, learned architect, conquered the southern parts in the Indo-Chinese peninsula and established themselves there in the classical authors. Greek and Latin, we find frequent mention of the great Sartanian continent, distant many thousands, standing of the pillars of Hercules toward the setting sun. Plutarch, in his Life Saloon, says when the Greek legislator visited Egypt 600 years before the Christian era, Sonatius, a priest in Sais, also Sonupius, a priest in Helipos at Hurumakati, told that's the translation, Hurumakati, or down in Memphis, told him that 9,000 years since the relations to the Egyptians with the inhabitants of the lands of the West had been interpreted because of the mud that made the sea passable after the destruction of Atlantis by earthquakes. The same author, in his word, D. Facet in Uruk Luneria, has Sisler renowned his brother Olympus. He had, let's see, learned concerning them of the stranger he met at Carthage, returning of the transatlantic countries. The western continent was visited by Carthaginians a few years before entertaining at Plato's Atlantis. The portraits of men with long beards and the Phoenician features discovered by this is what the author of the book say. Discovered by me in 1875, sculpted on the columns in the castle of Chichen bear witness that Diodorus Siculus attributes the discovery of the western continent to the Phoenicians and